What's up, guys? This is Boondocks, and today I'm going to be showing my personal snow globe build for my Frost. So first of all, I do have a Frost Prime, and that's what I'm going to be showing on because that's what I formed up. So jumping right into the upgrades that I have on it, as you can see, it's a lot of based around my power strength. So snow globe itself gets its durability from three things: power strength, the amount of armor you have, and then every time you cast it, it has a 4-second window that whenever enemies shoot it, it's going to increase in strength. So because of that, there's actually a couple of different ways you can build for Frost. One, the lazy way, the way I chose, is to just boost up your power strength as high as possible and cast it, have a huge amount of life on there, and make it last. So that's option A. Option B is to increase the efficiency on it, so that way you can cast it more often. So how would I go about doing that? Well, right away I would drop off the Blind Rage, so that way I don't lose that power efficiency. And then pretty much that's about it as far as my build's concerned. I mean, I could always toss on a streamline to boost the efficiency a little bit more. So if I were to swap out the streamline with my Blind Rage, I'm now at 175 instead of 180. That's going to allow me to cast a lot more snow globes, so that way whenever one starts to take some damage, I can just recast it. The enemies are already going to be shooting at it, that's why it's been taking damage, and now it's going to be that much more durable on the next one. So that's one option. The other one, because I kind of get bored when I'm just sitting inside waiting for my snow globe to start taking damage, I usually like to run around and kill stuff, especially in the void. I like to toss on the Blind Rage instead and just set it and forget it. And in all honesty, I like to kind of play Frost as a damage mage as well. Now, he's not going to be able to hit the crazy amount of damage as, say, an Excalibur, or even something like a properly spec'd Nova, especially spec'd Mag against Corpus, stuff like that. You're not going to hit that type of damage, but overall, I definitely like having the power strength on there. It makes me feel good, especially in the void, going up against like those level 40 enemies, just hitting for causing a big ass avalanche around me, and everything pops, it's dead. So going through my going through my mods real quick, I have two that I'll interchange as far as my aura is concerned. Either corrosive projection for going to the void, or in like sorties where enemies are going to have augmented enemy armor. Toss on the corrosive projection. It's definitely going to help against their armor values, especially when other players on your team have the augmented armor. And Frost himself actually lends to destroying armor as well, and I'll show that in a bit. If I'm going to swap that out for anything, it's most likely going to be Energy Siphon, just to give me back that little bit at times when I might be needing it. I don't need this as much though, just thanks to my focus tree. After my timer's up, cast my focus ability, and then I'm getting back 4 energy per second. Good to go, right? I do use a Ximulus adapter. I might be saying that wrong. I'm using the Rush mod in here just because Frost's base movement speed is so low. I like to bump it up as much as possible, and this kind of goes along with Armored Agility a little bit to give me the 1.38 movement speed, so he's still slow, but he's not that sub 1 movement speed that if I didn't have these two mods on, that's what he'd be at. And oh my god, you just feel like a snail compared to every other Warframe, especially if like you have a Loki in your group. He just takes off running and you're like, wait for me, guys. Not interested. So I put on the Rush. Aside of that, I do use Fleeting Expertise. Power duration doesn't really matter on Frost unless you're trying to go for more of a control build, but I do want some of that efficiency to make up for my Blind Rage. And since I'm already not worried about my duration, because I'm not going for the control as much, I instead will toss this on instead of Streamline. Now, if I were to swap these two out, that will bump up my duration a lot, but now you can see I'm sub 100% efficiency, and once you start doing that, it gets a little too costly in my opinion. I then have Transient Fortitude, again for the power increase, and I'm not worried about the duration. I use Stretch instead of Overextend because I don't want to knock down my power strength all that much. And in all honesty, I personally feel like your snow globe, your bubble, is big enough with just a Stretch on there. Other people might disagree, but that's my personal opinion. I then use Blind Rage, again, just for the power strength. The efficiency, I try to work around using the Fleeting Expertise, and it seems to get the job done well enough. I then have Armored Agility tacked on. If you don't have Armored Agility, because it is a slightly difficult mod to sometimes get, feel free to toss on the Streamline or pretty much anything else for that matter. I would probably go with the Streamline before anything else, just to give you that much more efficiency, and yeah, it should get the job done. So the nice thing about Armored Agility and Steel Fiber is your bubble gets strength from 3 different spots. I say bubble instead of snow globe at times, but you get your strength of the snow globe, your bubble, from 3 things: your power strength, the amount of armor you have, and every time you cast it, you have a 4-second window that any enemies that shoot it will increase its durability instead of decreasing it. So those are the 3 things that increase, which is why having a higher efficiency at times and allowing you to constantly keep casting your bubble is sometimes beneficial. I then take a Flow just to increase my max power, because without this, his entire power is only 150, which mathematically doesn't make sense, because, like, let's just swap that real quick. As you can see, it's 150, and my Flow says it increases by 150. 100% of 150 should be 300. So, yeah, I'm missing a little bit of energy. Not that I'm not going to complain, though. I definitely do like to have the extra energy on here, though, just so that way, in, say, a mobile defense, if I get to a new point, I can cast 4 bubbles real quick. And I'll talk about why when I move on to the abilities themselves. So, for the Flow, just to get that extra energy, plus it lets you cast Avalanche a few more times. Then Intensify is pretty straightforward, just more damage. So as far as his abilities are concerned, Freeze, I almost never use this ability. It's another one of those number 1 abilities that I just don't feel is as effective as some of the other things. It's relatively slow moving in my opinion. It doesn't have that big of an area per se, and all it does is freeze enemies. I mean, it does 850 damage after I've already stacked so much extra damage power mods on there. So to me, skip Freeze. Ice Wave is definitely a little bit more fun in my opinion, partly because of how it looks. It's just giant shards of ice burst up through the ground, kill everything. And when you have a couple of range mods on there, such as just Stretch alone, the size and length of it gets kind of ridiculous, and it just looks a lot of fun. So I enjoy using that from time to time. And as you can see, as far as my snow globe's concerned, it gets kind of ridiculous. I'm at almost 17,000 health per snow globe. The radius is more than enough to cover almost an entire defense point in the void. Like, standing on one side of the defense point, it'll just miss on the platform by like a sliver. So I feel like just having the Stretch on there, not overextended, with the 29 radius, more than enough. And that amount of health, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, once you start getting to enemies that are like level 200 or so, then yeah, they're going to start knocking that down right quick. But for general play, I just like the set it and forget it type snow globes, where I can toss one of these up and then it's going to last for almost ever. As you can see, the vulnerability time doesn't actually get affected by duration negatively or positively, so it's just 4 seconds. And then 67% slow. More than enough. I don't even know if that can change, to be honest. I've never looked at it, never cared. There is a mod that causes enemies that come into your globe to have a chance of getting frozen for 8 seconds. While that sounds good, any enemy that comes into my bubble is getting the fuck out right quick. because Snow Globe actually has a knockback attached to it. Every time you cast it, enemies that are around you get pushed away. This is good for two reasons. One, if a bunch of enemies somehow manage to get into your globe, you can push them all out with one cast, thus refreshing your globes, as well as if a teammate gets downed and a bunch of enemies are swarming them, you can run, sprint, slide in there, and then as soon as you're on top of your teammate, Snow Globe, and all the enemies that were surrounding him and piling on get flung way the fuck out, and then you can res them in relative safety. Because by the time the enemies get back in there and try to kill you, they're typically up. So nice and easy. So then I come down to Avalanche. Oh, sorry. The one thing that I really wanted to make sure I said about Snow Globe, they stack. You can stack up to 4 Snow Globes on top of each other. And that becomes really important because we'll just say this is 15 instead of 17 just to make math. Well, it's just another 8,000, sorry, on top. So we'll say 17,000 damage per. So rounding up a little bit. If you can stack 4 Snow Globes on top of each other, then that's 68,000 health that the enemies have to burn through before they can try to shoot at whatever you're protecting, including yourself. So definitely kind of ridiculous. And remember, you can stack 4 of them. So many times have I seen Frost, like in an excavation mission, toss up 1 Snow Globe and then be like, I'm good to go. And then that fucking Snow Globe dies, and they're off trying to pick up some sort of energy cell, and then the excavator gets blown up. And I get annoyed because if they had stacked it, it would have taken 4 times as much to kill. And there's an update in 5 minutes. Awesome. 1 second. I won't lie, I just didn't like the song I was playing. So, yeah, had to pause, go swap over that. So that's how Snow Globe works. As far as Avalanche is concerned, there's 2 ways of doing this. One, I really love the armor reduction and the nuke I get from it. The problem is, in order to get that high, I've had to sacrifice so much of my duration that the armor reduction doesn't stay on for all that long. So, against augmented armor or in the void, that's not always the best. The nice thing, though, is they get the armor reduction, and then a second wave damages them. So, there's 2 waves of damage that come from each Avalanche cast. So the first wave takes off their armor and does some damage, then the second wave can usually finish them off, or can have your teammates, hopefully in that 1 second that they're frozen, just annihilate them. Now, if you increase your duration, you're going to decrease your Snow Globe's strength, but it's all that balancing act in this game. You know how it is. And I just like being that damage caster, as well as that armor reduction can be ridiculous at times. And I'll get to why when I start talking about weapons, which is now. So why can that armor reduction be kind of ridiculous? Well, the Cyanide Simular. So this is a rank 12 weapon, so it's probably not for anybody that's actually watching my videos. So I'm not going to go too in-depth into it, but basically you shoot 4 to 5 little balls out, and they create a black hole. So you can create a black hole on an enemy, and then use an avalanche to take away all their armor. Now they take a huge spike of damage because they're already on the black hole, and that's really good. Additionally, you can shoot the balls right at the side of your bubble and cause the black hole to form there. So that way, any enemies trying to walk in get sucked into your black hole and take a bunch of damage. If you don't have something like that, feel free to try to get some of the other powerhouses that are a little bit more feasible. So rock something like the Boltor Prime. You can try to toss on a Heck. You know, I prefer the close range weapons on Frost because I'm going to be typically either defending my bubble or getting right in the faces of enemies because I have so much armor. And that's generally what I enjoy. I also like Sancti Tigris on them, but again, that's another rank 12 weapon. You can also take the Tonkor. So one of the cool features about the Tonkor is if you shoot the point that you're defending on a defense mission or a mobile defense, it'll instantly explode, doing its full amount of damage, and then only doing 50 damage to whatever you're defending. So definitely something to think about. Or you can try to take a Torrid just to set up the little gas clouds all around you, so that way enemies that get in or try to walk through like choke points get, well, choked out. I then of course take my Sonicer, just because I always take my Sonicer. I love the knockback on it. I love pretty much everything about it. And yeah, that's what I take. Then for my melee weapon, I again go for a little bit more control. I take my Jack Kitty, the Jack Katag, just because it has knockdown CC. And in general, that's how I like to play my Frost. Feel free to go more of a support type control unit by increasing the duration instead of as much power as I have in there, and that'll cause enemies to be frozen for longer and have their armor reduced for longer. Or you can have just those big spikes that I like. If I'm going into higher level areas like sorties, I'll sometimes swap out some of the power duration negative effects for just better duration. It's your call. Do what you like. And until then, good luck, have fun, peace.